The type of behavior that a lot of people very much kind of like see nowadays of like wanting to get like a lot of things like done, I think is very much all well intended, but it always comes off as like the wrong way of how they always end up like doing it. And one of these examples I think very much kind of like suited the best is very much the channel Mama Max. For those of you who don't know who Mama Max is, Mama Max was and is a creator and YouTuber who's kind of gone through a lot of changes like throughout like his time on YouTube. As of like now, he's kind of like currently in this like kind of like uh, uh, mind warping, brainwash kind of like horror analytical kind of like style like content. It's kind of like very similar to like how like Wendigoon or like Nexpo does a lot of these things. And I remember him as the guy who made a video called Pick a Side YouTube, which essentially was him very much wanting to very much have YouTube, restore his video and actually have YouTube address a lot of things that like is going on with the site and have other creators also very much chime in as well. One of these things is um people that are not very so kind to kids, let's just say. I'm only saying it mainly just because I feel like that video would be taken down, so I'm just gonna say some diddlers. Okay, we'll call it diddlers. Mama Max is very much one who very much does not like diddlers. In fact, he very much thinks of them as very much as the evils of the world. Those people like are like just scum. Like they are even lower than scum. Mama Max will end up uploading a video titled "This is the greatest cancellation of all time," which features Critical in the thumbnail, and it's an entire video kind of just going over how he very much wants Critical to actually speak about an issue that he's very much been researching, and very much thinks that he brings like a whole lot of awareness to the whole thing because he has a lot of power in these things, and that most influencers would just shy away from it because it's a persisting issue. Now, I think it's almost fair to say that nobody would disagree on the fact that most did like a lot of diddlers on the platform are there, and it's just it's fucked up that we very much have to very much tell YouTube this and very much have to getting them off. The problem that is that it's not even the message. Anybody can agree with the message. Even I agree with the message. The problem is that I have like the issue is that his way of like doing this is just not very, it's not really all thought out because one, he is like pressuring creators, like mainly Charlie in this specific example, but he's also done this before with Pick a Side YouTube. Because very much when he was really, wanting YouTube to, actually acknowledge that there are actual, like, diddlers on the platform, he very much was tagging people like Scarce. He was tagging people like Dramaler. He was tagging people like Philip DeFranco, Ethan Klein, Charlie, like a whole bunch of people that are big enough to spread awareness about this issue, and very much, pressure them into, wanting to make videos about this and actually talk about the whole thing in general, so that people can actually start this conversation and then move it to where the diddlers are just gone forever, like they're just no more, like they're all out of it. Even on paper it sounds like it's not a bad thing, having other creators to bring awareness to a situation. That's all good. That's actually like a very good thing to do, but it's only when creators actually want to do and actually spread the awareness to. It's not because that they are like complicit into something, but most of a lot of them just don't want to talk about something because it's a very tacky, it's a very dark subject that most people are probably not very ill equipped to do. And I think it's a fair and understandable valid reason as to why most creators probably can't talk about this. Even Charlie, as much as he very much has gone over some diddlers in the past, which one with a cupcake incident, he very much has kept up to date with that whole thing and has made sure to have people remind him as to who he is and as to why he was bad. And Charlie isn't exactly the type of channel to go in there for a lot of the darker stuff in there. Like a lot of the stuff that he very much does make videos on are things that are just a very much lighthearted. And if it's something like a situation that actually needs to be addressed and actually be brought out to the public, then he will. The thing I really just don't like about this whole video from Mama Max is that he's pressuring just people because if they are just mainly silent about this and are just not responding about it, then he believes that they are just complicit with like the whole like with these diddlers. Like they enable these diddlers, which is not true at all. And this also harkens as well because in like the video itself, he also goes on to very much like at least like diminish the whole thing that was happening with like Jax Films and Sniper Wolf, because he believes that it's just a waste of like internet drama, and it's like, you know, just another like one of those things that just keep us like in the loop, and not it makes us like ignore the whole thing that was like, you know, happening with all these like other stuff that he very much is bringing up.
Clicks and views of internet drama. There's a story we're overlooking. Millions of stories, in fact. Stories that scream for immediate attention, yet continue to be muffled by the cacophony of the latest drama or trend. Let's take a moment to step back from the online spectacle and face the harrowing truth. These often receive a fraction of the attention granted to the latest internet scandal.
I don't like the fact that he's pressuring other people to like have like others to talk about this, because one like little like thing that happened before is like lesser than like doing anything else. Because the whole thing with Jax Films and Sniper Wolf was literally just because that Sniper Wolf doxed Jax, showed a photo of his house to her like millions of like fans who follow her on Instagram, did a poll to see if she's like willing to go inside of it, and she got called out by Jax Films, and Jax was like, you know, understandably, he was scared of it. He didn't know what to expect to happen to Leah at all. When an influencer, at least a creator, very much is doing it to another creator of doxing their home address and posting it online, then it very much takes a like almost 0 seconds for people to very much find the house and do some pretty horrible things to it. Whether or not it's like, you know, sending like random packages to the house, or have other people show up into the house. We have people like, you know, like Jake Paul with the Team 10 house, that block house that he had. Kids and like most families will literally come to that house to try and actually like, you know, do things around it, and the neighborhood got so upset by it. Like, it didn't affect Jake Paul because it was just his fan base, because it's Jake Paul, but even at that moment, it was like he was putting people in danger because of the doxing. And to diminish, I cannot speak that word, to diminish the whole thing of like Sniper Wolf doxing Jax because it was just like internet drama, I think it's just like it's kind of just like mean. Like, it just feels like you're not thinking this whole thing like seriously as it is, because you're just like thinking of it as like the surface level. Like, it's not more than just drama. It's an actual, like, it's a crime to do that. Like, you don't sell internet beef on, like, you know, in the real world at all, because that's just stupid, and it could just result into something a lot worse for everybody else out there. The only reason that Sniper Wolf even got away with it was because YouTube is very, very, very lenient on her. And they very much couldn't even bother to give her a whole punishment. It was the equivalent of, like, you know, poking her with, like, her head with a finger. And, like, that's the punishment that she more or less got. And although her reputation is ruined online, she's still making a whole lot of money and is still doing the exact same thing out there with people. And very much, it's almost like when she even comes to the end of her rope, it's going to happen at some point. But I'm getting off topic about this. The reason as to why that I don't like that he's diminishing this is because it's not, because it's, I think that both, like, you know, doxing and, you know, sexual abuse is something that I think can be talked about equally. Like, one does not need to be talked about more than the other. Like, just because, like, you, Mama Max, think that because, like, you know, a lot of these things are a lot more worse than, like, you know, something as, like, you know, doxing, it shouldn't mean that, like, both of them can't be talked about in equal part. Both are bad. Both are literally bad. It's just that one is a lot more eviler than the other, okay? Like, you can't just compare, like, you know, what's worse, like being stabbed or being, like, you know, shot at gunpoint. I think both are bad. Both are, like, extremely bad. It's just that one is a lot more of a lesser evil than the other one. And he's very much, like, you know, entirely obsessed with this, and has even went as far to even was like say that to even like DM Charlie entirely, like, and show his DMs very much desperately wanting to like have him actually like do something and actually watch like a lot of the stuff that very much is out there, and he believes that Charlie is the only one, or at least some other influencers or creators that can actually do something.
I'm reaching out not to corner you, but to share growing concerns that has been eclipsed by your usual online interactions. I respect you as an individual. I believe you are fundamentally a good man. I would not be reaching out to you if I thought otherwise. However, our community, and by extension our society, faces a critical imbalance in its focus and priorities. We are living in an era where the exploitation of children, a subject of grave importance, is alarmingly overlooked, neglected by the spotlight that's instead cast on topics like Sniper Wolf. While such content has its relevance, my intention in reaching out to you, especially through private channels like Discord, was to foster a private approach to address these serious matters. Unfortunately, your silence has left me with no choice but to resort to more public forms of communication. This, in of itself, is symptomatic of a larger problem. This lack of dialogue among creators is not just an internal community issue. It has far-reaching consequences, especially in our battle against the rampant spread of disinformation.
He's making it out like Charlie is like leaking leaking DMs about this whole entire private conversation, when you yourself are just leaking your own DMs with him. And I think it's fair enough to say that like he very much wouldn't want to make a video about this because it's just not his realm of expertise. Like, yeah, you would be able to research a lot about this stuff, but like to be able to talk about this like all like 24/7, it's a mental burden that like nobody can do. Like, even as of like these like horrors of like what you can very much even talk about, it takes a lot onto somebody like to talk this about this like day in and day out. Like it's not even the issue that like we can't talk about these things. We should. These are very much important matters that should be able to be like plastered onto like all these things and be made aware of, because it's like it's inhuman that if we don't talk about these things. The issue I very much just have is that when with Mama Max making videos like these, he is just pressuring other people that if they don't respond, or that they don't take like the time out of the day to make videos about these things, which again he very much has said that, like it isn't like a shift in style of content. They just want them to speak about this like type of subject because they feel like mindless entertainment of like all these other things out there are just like they're pointless. They're like they're just like meaningless things out there. Like this is like the real issue in our role that's like our society has almost forgotten. And I very much understand that, but to make it sound like that anybody who very much isn't or can't make a video about this, because it's a touchy subject and it's a very dark subject that most people I think understandably would very much not want to like talk about, because they probably are not exactly as well versed in the whole thing, and even the amount of research they would even need to do, it's still a mental burden that most people would very much like wouldn't want to actually do. And even 3, to be pressured into this is to be made believe that that all these other matters are completely utter like useless, and that the only thing you would need to do is to literally talk about these diddlers and how much you want very much to be rid of them off the platform and actually have served justice for it. And even like a fourth bonus thing is that he's doing all this because like he's doing all this to get to Charlie is because it's like a good like clickbait tactic. The whole video he very much has. That was a car. The reason as to why he's making a video like this is because to bait people who watch Charlie or don't know any better about Charlie, so that when they very much do click on the video, they very much get his message across and very much want Charlie to very much respond to this whole thing and actually make a video about it, because if he doesn't, he's complicit of letting diddlers be run around the site. Hey, Denner from the future here. scenes that Boris Critical did, Boris has responded to Mama Max about that whole thing, and this is like the entirety of the clip that was very much like shown and got clipped on by, and this is very much his response.
Yeah, so here, you want me to talk about it a little bit? That rubbed me the wrong way. We talked like a month ago about like what he was working on in his investigation. And then apparently when I had COVID, he messaged me a couple times and I never saw it. And now he's taken that as me ghosting him and ignoring his very important mission. And it really rubs me the wrong way. Instead of just he jumping to the most extreme possible explanation for me not seeing it, which is really fucking cringe. That did make me upset. There. Yeah, that really rubbed me the wrong way. I had COVID, and I barely used Discord in the first place. It was a miracle I ever even saw his message to begin with. And then I spent 12 days not doing anything online, in bed. And during that time, apparently it changed his whole framing of the video in order to make it like a Trojan horse of cancel Critical, because he didn't respond to my messages and ghosted me. So yeah, that did rub me the wrong way. Good intentions, but I did not like that.
As I and probably some others have most expected, he didn't like the approach that this was going on for. He has acknowledged that about the video and very much at least all the messages that were also like, sent in and was shown in the video from Mama Max. But again, still, he very much says here that he didn't appreciate this approach. He didn't like how this whole thing was and how that this is like his way of responding to somebody not returning back to his messages. And again, he also very much says that he had very much good intentions of this, but he handled this in almost like the completely wrong way of going about this. Even some of the comments under his own video are also very much saying the exact same thing. I can flash a lot of these on screen to show all of them. I very much see each one by one explaining differently of the same problem, the same exact issue, and whether or not Mama Max is going to at least learn a little bit from this, because I do hope that things at least go well for him. It's not that I don't hate Mama Max. I don't dislike Mama Max, and I usually hit a big fan of his content. I'm the hugest sucker for the guy, but if you wanted to do any of these things, why not also work with the authorities? Why does it have to rely on a YouTuber, especially to one like Critical or any other YouTubers, to more or less help out with this? Because they're not investigators the law. I mean, it should work with actual authority figures and not just other YouTubers that also have talked about this. And again, it's not that they didn't want to talk about this. Is that it's a very sensitive subject that can be murky a little bit if you end up it's essentially walking on eggshells. It's only a matter of time before you hit one of them and it causes a nerve. It's going to happen either way, and a lot of these things should be treated very delicately. It should not be treated for just entertainment by some YouTubers. No, it should be treated in in actual authority. And I hope he very much gets this, because this seems to be an underlying thing that has been happening with him at least 2 times, at least that I've known, with one being pick a side and the other one both being as of this situation. And I hope he learns to not try to do these things, because it's not going to make people win by your side for a good cause. It's going to make people want to join them, because you force their mind to believe that if I don't join them, I'm an awful person. And I just don't agree with the entirety of the approach to his methods. I really just don't. And I hope things work out for him. Again, no hate in my heart. I don't I don't have any ill will or intentions, as of me saying this and explaining all these things. I just wish that people don't do these types of methods at all. Even if the ends justify means, it's still messed up as to what you do. And disguising this thing as a cancellation is not the best course of action. It's going to ruin your reputation and your own image if you do these things. And that's really about the video. Bye bye.